Hello there everyone and welcome back to the GSL-English Podcast. My name is Gideon and this is a podcast for all learners of English to practice and improve in a relaxed and natural way. And welcome to another Natter episode. So in this episode I'm going to be talking at a normal pace using English that I would when talking to friends and family, so you can best prepare. Hello there everyone and welcome back to the GSL English Podcast. My name is Gideon and this is a podcast for all learners of English to practice and improve in a relaxed and natural way. And this is another Natter episode. So in this episode I'm going to be talking about a variety of different topics, but in a very relaxed way. So this will give you an opportunity to practice listening to real native British English. So I'm going to talk at the pace that I normally would with friends and family and use English in a natural way. So this episode is not scripted. I'm not reading from a vocabulary list or anything like that. I've got topics that I want to talk to you about. I've got the occasional note, but what you're going to hear is real English. So if you do want to practice your listening skills and prepare for real situations in English, perhaps when you come visit us here in England, then this episode is just for you. And as I say, it is more of a relaxed episode, so I do recommend grabbing a cup of tea, grabbing a coffee. If time permits, if it's that time of the day, grab yourself a glass of wine, beer, whatever you fancy, whatever tickles your fancy. Get comfortable if you can, because we've got a few different things we're going to talk about. The first thing that we're going to talk about is, I think we're close to 2 years of the podcast. So we're definitely going to talk about that. Going to share some thoughts on recent episodes and your comments. Going to talk about my experience moving house, holidays. I'd also like to share with you some books that I've read and recommend. Books that I've read this year and I recommend for you to read. Going to talk about a random experiences where I nearly died. So I had a near-death experience a little while ago, but I want to share it with you. Going to talk about exercise, routine, blah, 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 blah. Just some great things we're going to talk about. I don't know how long this episode's going to be. Generally 30 minutes, but we'll just see how it goes. So I hope you are doing well. I hope you've had a good week. I'm sending you all a very warm hello from Kent, the southeast of England here, where it's another sunny day. We've had glorious weather here in England recently. It's been lovely. Can't complain at all. The only thing that I'm a little bit upset about is my lawn. As you all know, if you are a returning viewer or listener, since we moved house, I've realised that I enjoy looking after my lawn, mowing my lawn, watering my lawn, treating the lawn, but the sun has scorched it to death. I currently just have a brown, dirty mess out there. So it's not looking pretty. It's not looking good. It's not what I had envisioned the lawn looking by September when this episode goes out. But it is what it is. Can't water it. We're under a hosepipe ban here in England. That means we cannot use a hosepipe. Despite all the rain we get throughout the year, apparently for the 2 weeks that we have sun, we run out of water here somehow. Really don't know how that works. We get rain so much of the year, but as soon as we get like 2 weeks of sun, oh no, the water's all gone, hosepipe ban. But it's not a massive problem, just more of a frustration. Because I spent ages on that lawn, sweat, blood and tears went into that, and now it is just a brown mess. So we'll get onto that next year. But anyway, yeah, I hope you're all doing well, wherever you are in the world, wherever you are watching from, wherever you are listening from. Now, 2 years of the podcast. I think I'm right on this, that we are getting close to 2 years of this podcast, which is absolutely mind-blowing. I think back to recording that first episode, which I think I was living in Italy at the time, which if you watch last week's episode, you'll know that I do not speak Italian, even after living in Italy. go check out that episode if you haven't done so already. I'm really proud of it. If you're thinking of living abroad, it's the question, does that make you fluent? Will moving to another country, living there, make you fluent in that language? It didn't for me, and we talk about that in that episode. But yeah, I was living in Italy. I was creating kind of YouTube videos, but I didn't like the scripted approach, and I didn't really have time for all the editing that took. So I put out a podcast episode 2 years ago, and here we are, 2 years later. Isn't it just crazy how fast time flies? I honestly can't believe it. It feels like yesterday, actually, that we were doing the last celebration episode, which is for a year of the podcast. I think I'm pretty sure I've got my timing right. Correct me if I'm wrong, any long-term viewers and listeners. But yeah, I think we're getting close, or we're around that time of 2 years of the podcast. So, of course, at this point, I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for all your support. I love you all. You're amazing. We're going to talk about your comments in a moment, but I know there's some that have been watching from the very first episode to now. And I do know you're out there. I know you still like the videos. I know you still comment. Thank you so much for all your support. I try to, make every episode interesting, but I do know that not all of them are going to be to everybody's liking. But there's some people out there, no matter what, they will always watch the episode on a Sunday at 10 o'clock. And I genuinely appreciate it. So thank you so much. Even if you are a more recent viewer or subscriber, genuinely, thank you. I really appreciate it, and I wouldn't keep doing this. Because, as I've always said, we're not the biggest English learning podcast out there, and I understand why. There's some other podcasts that are able to put so much time into the production, into the preparation of their episodes, and they're fantastic. And they really break down the English language word for word, grammar rule by grammar rule. They don't make pronunciation mistakes like me. And yeah, they deserve to be huge, and they are. And I know that we're not kind of in that league, but I'm okay with that because I'll be honest with you, there's two reasons. One, I'm not good at the structured stuff. I just don't have a mind for structured episodes, perfect editing and perfect sentence structure, and I don't have a mind for that. And two, it's not where this podcast has naturally gone. I like the idea of presenting English to you in a real, natural, authentic way. We talk about random topics. We discuss random things. And I'm fine with that. And I like that. So I know that we're never going to be the biggest podcast out there. But one thing I love about our podcast, when I say our, by the way, I mean you and mine. This is our baby. I made that weird then. I didn't mean to make that weird, so I apologise for that. But we are always growing. Each week, each month, we grow. And as long as that keeps happening, as long as we keep gaining subscribers, as long as we keep getting views, and ever so slightly they're going up, we will keep doing this podcast. And that's happening. Again, I know I kind of seem to harper on about this subject. Harper on means to keep going on about something, but it has taught me such a life lesson about consistency and persistence. And one thing I've learned about this podcast for me is it's more than just about presenting this podcast, putting it on YouTube and watching the views. I've realised for me, it's almost like how do I put this? It's part of my weekly routine, which is an accomplishment. And that puts me in a good headspace once I've done it, because each episode I find an achievement. Once it's uploaded, I thought, great, I'm proud of that. I've done it this week. And I've noticed for me, on the very occasional week where I haven't put out an episode, something seems missing, and I don't feel quite as I don't feel like I've achieved as much that week. So I've realised that this podcast is as much for me as it is for you, in a really odd way. That sense of achievement, once an episode goes out, views aside, likes aside, comments aside, however well it does, I like that every time an episode goes out, I've succeeded in that, and it gives me something to achieve each week. But of course, as you know, or if you are new here, this isn't my full-time job by any means. It's nowhere close to being my full-time job. It is just a hobby, which I get, I'll be honest with you, a little bit of money for each month, but it's pocket money. It's not a lot of money. I'm not saying that in any way for a guilt trip or, for you to get the violin strings out and that, but no, it's not a job for me. It is a hobby that I get a little bit of pocket money for. And so I don't have time to put as much effort into the episodes as I would like. Don't get me wrong. They do take a long time to prepare. They do take a long time to put together, to edit, to get the audio right and blah, blah, blah. I'm going on about it. But basically, my observation of podcasting, of doing this, is consistency is everything. Persistence is everything. And determination. Not just for what you can achieve, but also that feeling of, I did this. Even if you're having a rubbish week, when you've got that one thing you think, at least I've achieved that. You know what I mean? It puts you in a good headspace. And we did speak about this on last week's episode, but I think when it comes to English, or even if there's just something that you want to achieve, that you want to do, Rome was not built in a day. Nothing worth having really comes easily. It's very rare that it does. Everything that's worth having takes time, doesn't it? It takes effort. It takes consistency. And if you're at a point with your English where you are struggling, please don't give up. Just be consistent. Find something that works for you, but just keep going. That's my biggest observation with the podcast. And what's interesting, I always find this with a podcast, is which episodes seem to do well. Now, I really do try not to focus on figures and numbers, but we're only human. I do look at them just to see which you're going to like, which kind of episodes appeal to the audience more. But one thing I've learned is I have no idea which episodes are going to do well. For example, we could put out one of these Natter episodes one month, and I don't know, it does really well for me. I don't know, it gets 20, 30,000 views, which for me is a massive achievement. I think, all right, I'll do more of them Natter episodes. I do the same thing again a month later, and it'll get 3,000 views. 10% of what it got before. Or I'll do a story review. That'll do really well, and then another one won't. And I've realised that I'm at the mercy of YouTube. Whatever it decides to put out, whatever it decides to push, it's going to push. So as long as I'm just consistent, I put out content that I like, that I know, getting to know you guys now over time, I think you're going to enjoy. And I leave that with YouTube. If the algorithm's favouring me that week, brilliant. If it's not, it is what it is. But it's nothing that I've done wrong, I don't think. Okay, some episodes are better than others. I know when I could have done a bit better with an episode, but it is what it is. But I'm at the mercy of YouTube. And now I've kind of learned that. I think, well, it is what it is. Views will be views. There's not a lot you can do about it. And isn't that true in life? There's so many situations where you can only do so much, and then it is what it is. And that expression means that what is going to be will be. You can't change it. There's nothing you can do about it. For example, you could have an appointment in London. You leave within enough time, you get to the train station, and your train's cancelled. As stressful as that is, it is what it is. It's not your fault. There's nothing you can do about it, so you might as well positively think about moving on. It is what it is. There's nothing you can do. So that's kind of what I come to terms with the podcast. It is what it is. It will be as successful as it will be. It will get as many views as it will be. But one thing I know is I'll just keep on going. You just keep on trucking and putting it out there. And I think that applies to things we are learning, particularly, of course, with the English language. Just keep on going. Just keep practicing. Keep progressing. Keep moving forward. It is what it is. It will be. Well, it will be. So one thing I'd like to really thank you all for on episodes is your comments. Some comments that you guys write is truly incredible. They're almost, some of them are like poetry. And the way you analyse the articles that we're reading, the way the perception you have of them, the view that you take or the insight that you gain from it. I read them and I think, oh my goodness. So well done. If you've left one of those comments, those thought-provoking comments, well done. I do read all the comments. Of course, I try to reply to as many as possible, but I can't always keep up. But even if you're leaving those comments saying hello, and you just leave a nice positive message saying thanks, I see all of them as well. I do try to respond to them. But thank you for that. Taking the time just to even write something in the comment section. I do get that you've put in effort to do that. And on YouTube, it's very easy to not comment, isn't it? It's very easy to not like. You just go on to the next video. But I do appreciate that you do that. So thank you so much. And well done for some of your comments. Honestly, you guys got so much potential with the way you write. It's visceral, it's vivid. Yeah, really well done. So as many of you will know, at the beginning of this year, I moved house. And it was only this house move that I realised how much it occupies your time. It takes so long for a house to feel like a home, doesn't it? I don't know whether you've had this, but even like you'll see, like the background, for example, in this office, it's taken time. And I think it's so easy to rush into something. Like, for example, when we first moved in, we got loads of testing pots, which are paint. So basically you go into B&Q, which is a local hardware store here, and you buy tester pots of paint. There's a little bit of paint that you can try out on the walls. And we went crazy and bought loads of tester pots. And in every corner of every room, basically, there's different crazy colours. And one thing I've realised is that when moving, you can't rush into it. It's so easy to make these random impulse purchases or these impulse decisions, but you don't really know what you want until you've lived somewhere for a while. And now, nearly close to 7 or 8 months living here, we're at that point. We've lived here for a while. We know what's kind of what we want, what kind of style we want, what style the house lends itself to. Excuse me. But that's taken time. So another lesson that has taught me, patience. It's so easy to rush into everything, which I kind of do have an impulsive side to my nature. And we could have done that with a house because my wife's quite impulsive as well. We get excited about things and we think, let's just buy it, let's just do it, let's go crazy. But actually we try to be more like adults. 35, trying to act more like an adult now, being old and all of that. So we didn't rush in, and I'm really pleased. It's just now we kind of know what we want, what kind of style we want to go with, where we want to take the house. Not take it literally, but take the style of the home. Yeah. And that's kind of what we've done. But it's taught me patience. Sometimes just calm down, just relax, take our time, and it will come. Again, applying that to English, patience. We want everything immediate, don't we? And too right. Sometimes we deserve to have things when we want them, but a little bit of patience, just being consistent, patient, and just waiting. For example, even before we moved into this house, we had to be patient in waiting for this house to come up. We couldn't find anything. We were living with my parents for about a year. We couldn't find anything. And we were so close occasionally to jumping into a property that was either out of our budget and would have stretched us, or it just wasn't right for us. But patience, just waiting, holding off a little bit, and we got the house that we wanted. So that's one thing I've learned from moving house, is just be patient. In a weird way, don't jump into everything. Sometimes a bit of acting on a whim is a good thing, it's fun, but actually there's nothing wrong, just a little bit of patience. And on that, had a little bit of money saved aside. We were going to save it, but we've decided to go on holiday. So actually, when this podcast goes out, I am on holiday, because you can see that currently it says Friday the 29th, which I'll be honest with you, I think might be the same date as last week on the clock on the wall. There's two reasons for that. One, I'm recording this, the day after last week's episode. And two, the clock has no batteries in it. It's all a facade. You'll see that it's not ticking. I wonder if anyone picked up on that last week. But the clock is not ticking because it has no batteries in it. It's a fake. it's not a fake clock. It does work. It's just one of those things, when you buy it, I always expect them to come with batteries. It didn't. It really annoys me. Why sell something without the one thing you need to make it work? Chuck a battery in with it. I'll pay 50p more. I'll pay £1 more. Just put a battery in with it, please. Found that out with that clock. Really annoying. And batteries is one thing that we never seem to have in the house, apart from in like TV remotes. Yeah. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, when this podcast goes out, I'm currently on holiday. My wife and I are in sunny America right now, just taking 2 weeks off to relax. We felt like we really needed it. We realised that money goes on things that we don't enjoy, like bills and boring stuff we have to buy. So we thought, let's go on holiday. So we are currently in America. So I don't know if there's going to be an episode next week. It depends if I'm able to record another one straight after this, or tomorrow. I'm not sure yet. So if there isn't a podcast next week, I do apologise. I'm still on holiday, having a great time. If there is an episode next week, then great, we're back. But yeah, it's important, isn't it, just to take time just to rest and relax and unwind a little bit. Life is full of work. Life is full of stress. Life is full of things you have to do. So I'm hoping with the holiday, my wife and I, we can just reset a little bit. She's done amazingly well with her own business. Recently, my wife started, she's a qualified nail technician. And she is honestly amazing at it. I'm genuinely so proud of her. And she started her own business here at our property. And it's going really well. She's worked so hard. She's got a good customer base now. But again, what did it take for her to do that? Persistence, consistency, and patience. Yeah, they really do work. But it's time for her to have a break, because it's so easy in it just to always be booking in clients, always on your phone, always writing episodes, always working, blah, blah, blah. So we thought, you know what, let's just take 2 weeks, just switch off from everything, focus on each other, and just have a good time. So yeah, if you're watching this right now on Sunday, the something of September, I'm on holiday. All right, some books I've read this year. I've got 2 books that I recommend for you to read. The first one I read was by an English comedian. It's his autobiography, Bob Mortimer. Now, if you know Bob Mortimer, you'll know that he's kind of become a national treasure here in England, and he is great. He is amazing. He's a wacky, quirky, hilarious comedian. And his book is called And Away. Now, I don't want to give any spoilers, but I recommend you reading this if you want to get more of an insight into British culture, particularly in the 70s to now. Because the book is written in such a British way. Such British jokes, such British slang. And the way that it's written is with British humour. It's very moving at points, very touching. If you know the comedian, it presents another side to him that you might not be too familiar with. It's kind of his rise to fame. It might not be what you think, but it's just a brilliant book. So if you are looking for a good read, a very, very funny read, emotional at times, if you're looking for that, highly recommend this if you do like autobiographies. But also if you do want more of an understanding into British culture, growing up in England in the 70s or the 60s, things like that, what it was like. It just gives a great kind of journey into England throughout the decades and really what life was like at that time. Highly recommend it. The next book I read, you guys know I love cars, is The Man in the White Suit. Ben Collins, aka The Stig. Now, are you a Top Gear fan? If you're a Top Gear fan, you're going to be well aware of who the Stig is. He's the man in the white suit that doesn't talk, just drives cars on the original Top Gear. The Man in the White Suit is his story of how he became the Stig. Of course, he could only write it after Top Gear. So, it's just another fantastic book. It gives angles into Top Gear that I was never aware of. Honestly, absolutely brilliant. And just insights into working with Jeremy, Richard, and James. But his story of getting there is incredible. Time in the army, things that he did, what it was like working on Top Gear. I absolutely loved it. So that's another book that I highly recommend. And I think for most British lads and girls actually as well, Top Gear was a massive part of my life. Only the original three, Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond and James May. Top Gear was a huge part of my life. Every Sunday, 8 o'clock, my family and I would watch Top Gear together. Absolutely loved it. And actually, I really do miss it. Of course, they did the Grand Tour. I loved that as well, but it wasn't the same as the Top Gear years. That was a massive part of my life. And I think it's probably one of the main reasons why I absolutely love cars now. Highly recommend that book. The Man in the White Suit. Again, British English, an insight into British life, what it was like growing up in England. So as well as a great and interesting read, good vocabulary, and also good understanding of British culture. And as we looked at again in last week's episode, I'm not intentionally referring back to that, by the way, it just keeps on happening. Understanding culture is key to using a language correctly. So those two books would definitely help you do that. And something a little bit random, if you're a science fiction fan, the Hyperion series. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. It is very much an advanced read. Hyperion. Hyperion. Incredible story. Highly recommend it. I think there's 4 books altogether. Absolutely incredible. So one person asked me recently, I think it was a friend, have you ever had a near-death experience? And I have. So I shared the story. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to share that on the podcast. I don't think I've shared this episode before. Basically, it's kind of really long story short. I'm not going to blabber on about this, but I was about, how old was I? I think I was about 22 at the time. I was in Central Africa in a country called Burundi. And myself and a few friends, we were there and we decided to go swimming in a lake. I've had the very fortunate opportunity of travelling quite a bit. And we went swimming in a lake. It was called Lake Tanganyika. I think that was it. Yeah, lake, something like that. So they had like this jetty that went out into the lake and you could jump off it, have a little swim. And we were doing that, just as young lads do, jumping off, having a swim, getting back on the jetty, jumping off, having a swim. Now in Burundi, there were hippos. And if I'm right, hippos are known as one of the most deadly animals. So we're swimming in this lake. There's people on the beach. And then we see a man running down the beach. And we're thinking, oh, that's strange. Hope he's all right. And we carry on splashing around. Then he starts running up the jetty. Screaming. And we're thinking, oh, that is really strange. And then he gets closer to us. And what he's saying is, get out the lake. Get out the lake. Get out of the lake. So we're like, oh my goodness, we need to get out of the lake. And I'm the last one. So we're quite far out from the jetty. So we're swimming as fast as we can. My friend gets out of the jetty. My other friend gets out of the jetty. And then as I gets up onto the jetty. And as I get up onto the jetty, I look down. I'm not kidding. There's a hippo just where I was with its mouth open. And there's a baby and another hippo. My heart absolutely sank. I couldn't believe it. I nearly got eaten by a hippo. Pretty cool story, but of course I wouldn't have been able to tell it because I wouldn't be around. So that was the story of how I almost got eaten by a hippo. It is a true story, I promise you. And now it's a pretty cool one because I can say that I nearly got eaten by a hippo. Not many people can say that. So that was my near-death experience. Bit random that, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to share it with you. Okay, final thought for this episode is about routine and the power of routine. I don't think anything can substitute routine, particularly when it comes to just achieving things in life, but learning English, learning anything. And I know for me, recently, I've managed to get back a routine. Since moving house, it's been thrown out. It's been all over the place. But recently, I've been able to get back to a routine when I have my coffee, when I do my study, when I exercise, when I go to work, blah, 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 when I do these podcasts, all of that. And getting back to a routine, I have been so much more productive rather than just acting on remembrance. So thinking, oh, I got to do that. Oh, I should have done this yesterday. Having that routine has helped me to be so much more productive. And it's just reminded me about the power of routine and how much, I guess we are all individual. Some people need a routine more than others, but I do think it is like a hack to productivity. So I just wanted to say, if you are feeling a little bit out of it at the moment, particularly with your English or just other stuff you want to achieve, perhaps something to do is go back to basics and look at your routine and see whether you even have one. Because that's what I noticed. I realised, whoa, I don't actually have a routine. I'm just living. I'm just doing what I need to do. But getting back a routine has helped me to be so much more productive. And I would love to know, are you a routine person? Does routine help you? And how do you keep it? I would genuinely love to know. How do you keep and stick to your routine? So there you go. That is our September Natter episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any questions about any vocabulary I used, any expressions, please do let me know in the comments. But you know what I'm going to say. Thank you so much for the last year, for the last 2 years of the podcast. Let's see where it happens next year. You never know. Hopefully we're still doing it. I imagine we are. But whatever happens, it is what it is. There's not a lot you can do. Just roll with the punches and see whatever happens. So if you did get to this point, please write Natter in the comments. Natter. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your support. And I'll see you all possibly next week. Have a good one, guys.